Yo, it's the Rapradar podcast. My name is B-Dot.
Elliot Wilson.
Elliot here with the commissioner.
Yes, man. One of the greatest hip-hop executives of all time, according to Variety.
That's a fact.
Well,
Steve Stoute.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. When that list came out, I didn't even expect to be on it. To be honest with you, I didn't know that they would get it right.
Well, shout out to them for getting it right.
Yeah, they got it right. It was a good list of people on that, and it was cool to be a part of that historic moment of the celebration of 50 years of hip hop and 50 executives that made an impact.
Do you think they left anybody off?
I can't remember the list. I remember thinking that, maybe they could have put somebody else on or whatever. They got to get it 50. It's hard. It's hard to get it tight, but they mostly got it right. I could say that. There was no grave error.
Omission.
Yeah.
But it's crazy about your story about people don't know you conquered the music executive side of things, and then now in this new era with United Masters, you're sort of retooling, challenging the whole system that you were a major part of.
Yeah. Well, what's cool is that I had this conversation with you guys the last time I was here, literally at the beginning of United Masters, and I really didn't want to talk a lot about it because I didn't want to come out the gate the hype, and I got an announcement like all these other people, you see it all the time. It's an announcement, and the announcement, do the work, make it important, make it impactful, and then it will tell the story itself. And as I look back on it, probably 5-6 years, we were early. We were very early on the idea.
Yeah.
And now there's a bunch of copycatters, which is fine. I'm used to that. I'm used to, being first in a particular field and watching people come afterwards and, do their thing. Because I like the fight. I like, there's something about me that love innovation, love innovative ideas. There's value to that, to me. It may not have monetary value, but there's a lot of pride in the fact that you thought about something and you seen around a corner, and therefore, you landed on an idea. And United Masses, it was clear when everything went to streaming that there was no need for a record company anymore. It's almost like a joke now. As I sit here, and when I said it back then, people were like, are you gonna compete with Spotify or Apple? Or Tidal? They didn't really understand what that was. And now when you look at it, it's obvious, that, outside of the advance that a record company can give you, there's nothing really they can do that you can't do. They can make up shit, but there's nothing tangible that they can do that you can't do.
Right.
And artists are proud to be independent.
Yeah.
I seen Usher in Paris a few weeks back, and he said to me, Steve, although I'm not with United Masters, I want you to know that it's very important for you and everything that you stand for, that I'm the first independent act to play the Super Bowl. This is Usher, who's been a legacy artist, saying this to me off top. So clearly we made an impact, and I'm proud of the work that we've done. We have a long way to go. I think this is the beginning. We're still in the second inning of the independent becoming this idea of a major independent and what that means going forward. So I think we're early in the game, but I think that we are well positioned to do what we need to get done.
We had a conversation earlier this year with NBA YoungBoy, and he said that he's a part owner in United Masters. Is there validity to that?
Did he say that on camera?
Yeah, he did, Mr. Stoute.
Yeah. First of all, congrats to you guys for getting a meeting with NBA YoungBoy.
That was hard, very hard.
It's very difficult for him. He's a very special guy. I like him. I spent a lot of time with him. And, there was a deal that we were going to discuss in which, we were going to be in business together, and he was going to, we were in business together. And yes, equity was going to be a part of compensation. I believe wholeheartedly in equity and ownership. I think I talked about that before. When you just talk about just the just the way we've been compensated over time, from the slavery, indentured servant to the employee, to the owner. Right. You just like that evolution. So I do believe that people should get equity based off of their contribution. And I wanted to put him in that game, but there was a lot that happened, and then he got in trouble, and then that whole thing didn't work. But yeah, that was definitely an in-depth discussion, and I have a lot of respect for him and his talent. There's certain things I wish he handled differently, but you can't take away from his talent.
Right.
Another gentleman we did a great interview with, we actually went in a helicopter with him because that's what the kind of vibe he was on, is Brent Faiyaz. And I heard you guys made
What?
Yeah, we did a little helicopter ride. Did you see that? No. Because he was inspired by Jay when Jay went on Rap City. Him and Joe Claire did the helicopter thing.
Yeah.
So, Ty, everybody was like, Brent only wants to do it if you guys get in the helicopter. So we did the interview sitting down, and then we eventually get in the helicopter, and we did some of the interview in the helicopter. We had to make sure we could at least make sure we had the copy here. But we really actually got in the helicopter. We did it.
Fact.
That's dope. Man, Brent is an amazing.
He's different.
Amazing. He's a different guy. He's super talented. And, it was, to get him to come to the United Masses, it was a bidding war. I mean, not a bidding war monetarily. It was a bidding war with what are you going to do? What do you believe in? Values. It was people putting forth their values on top of money, and we had to beat everybody. I mean, I literally had to beat everybody. But, I know
talking about major labels, major record labels, companies.
Everybody. I had to beat them everywhere, every aspect of it.
What did you see? Why did you want to beat them? What did you see there?
Because there's a few artists that stand for independence, like it embodies what they are. And he's one of them. He's been doing it. Him and Ty, his partner, his manager, have been stand for those values from day one. They're eloquent on the topic because they know it. That's all they know. They don't even understand when you come at them with, I'll give you money and own they don't even know what that means. All they know is invest in yourself and reap the reward, which is exactly my values. And that's the time we spent together. When I first met Ty, he said to me, Steve, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I read your book, love you, but we good. And it was developing a relationship from that point for over 2 years that led to then when they were gonna make a move, and Brett wanted a partner because he had bigger creative ambitions, and the right kind of partner to invest in those ambitions was what he needed and wanted. And that's when I came in, and I believe in him. I think he's genius level talent, and that's the reason why we're partners.
Yeah, can you talk about that? Because when the reports came out, it kind of was like elusive a little bit. It said you and Brent launched a creative agency valued at $50 million. Can you explain more about that agency?
Well, with the word agencies, first of all, I hate that word agency. Okay. So I'm just gonna go to translation for a second. The agency. We're a creative solutions company. That's what we are. We use creative solutions to solve a problem. That's what we do.
Okay.
The word agency is a terrible word. It's too much connected with mediocrity and cost and no return and all that kind of stuff. So, no. Brent wanted to, whether it be fashion, creative ideas, overall, he wanted to get funding to back a sort of a creative hub, a creative safe space where things that came out of it may articulate itself as fashion, it may articulate itself as visual content, it may articulate itself as podcasts. Like it was more of a creative hub that ideas can be fostered out of. That's what he wants to do.
Got it.
So that's what it is. It's not an agency per se that's gonna work with brands and that kind of way. That wasn't the intent entirely.
Got it.
Yeah. Also, he's empowering his team around him. So different positions, right?
Yeah.
ISO supremacy, I think it's called.
I can't tell you the name.
Well, what can you tell us about SelectCon 5, man? That's we in New York City for tonight.
Yeah.
For those not in attendance, can you explain what that is?
So we started SelectCon 3.5 years ago. And Select is a tier in United Masters in which you subscribe and you put out, all any amount of music you want. And when you are a subscriber to Select, you also get connected to the brands that we represent. AT&T, the NFL, the NBA, State Farm, ESPN. All right, so to get your music in the sync, so you get sync opportunities as well as brand and marketing opportunities with that tier of service that we have at United Masters. SelectCon, which is obviously a take on that, is a conference that we wanted to do where it was really helping creators, entrepreneurs, artists, labels, whatever it may be, provide information and intelligence that they can take and use as they build and navigate their careers. We've had great speakers. We've had Russ and Chance the Rapper and Pharrell and the Earn Your Leisure gentleman and others come on that stage and talk about what they went through and the trials and tribulations and provide advice and insights. And that's what this is all about. It's about getting the best of knowledge and having them share it. It's a live masterclass, Right. And I'm, Elliot, you are.
I'm interviewing Earn Your Leisure today.
Yeah. You're interviewing Earn Your Leisure today, and that's dope, man.
Let's speak a little about those guys, like to really bring financial literacy to our culture. Like it hadn't really been done before, and it's amazing to see the work those guys are doing, right?
Well, they're definitely hard workers, and I love their relationship. I met them about 3 years ago. I did an interview, and they were explaining to me. The first person to tell me about them, honestly, was Kevin Hart. It was Kevin Hart, and then Charlemagne. Within like 2 weeks, told me about them. They were reaching out for me to do the interview. I did not know who they were, so I delete. And
it's not easy to get the commissioner on the line, baby. It's not easy.
And then I met them, after hearing about them from Kevin and Charlemagne. And the first thing, Rashad said is like, man, we're like rock stars of financial literacy. Like we're just gonna sell concerts out. And when he explained the vision, it was clear he had it. Like it was clear they had a vision on what they expected and wanted to do. And there are versions of that exist, but they're just not what African American
in our world.
In our world, they're not African American, rooted in hip hop culture, kind of conversation and that level of financial literacy. And they knew there was a lane for them, and they've stayed diligent. It's one of the things Jimmy Iovine always said to me: stick to your knitting. And stick to your knitting comes from the fact that, like, you'll go to your grandmother's house, you go to your grandmother's house and she'll be knitting, so it'll be this small. And then you come back like 5 months later and it's a whole duvet. And you're like, in your mind, how did the time elapse? How'd she get all that done? Because she stuck to her knitting.
So slow and steady.
It's slow and steady. And that's what they did. And I'm super proud of them. And we've been partners with them with SelectCon for a few years. And however I can help them with sponsorships, I do that for them. And they have been great partners to us. We have a great relationship.
It's dope because like you've always been a person that's willing to give game. I saw a while ago on Instagram you posted from 1996. You was at the How Can I Be Down conference.
You survived that, Steve?
Well, Chris Lighty.
Man, I was scared to death. I remember that. That was the first time I spoke publicly. I was scared to death.
Wow.
I was scared to death. And I was standing next to Shakim and Chris Lighty, who are, titans as far as I was concerned back then, and God bless Chris, titans, men that I've looked up to and admired, what they were doing, and I was sort of now entering that frame in '96, and now
behind the scenes guy.
And now, it wasn't even a behind the scenes. I was now really getting on. Trackmasters had just taken off, and Nas, and I was, their manager.
Yep.
And now I'm on stage next to these great guys. And I'm sitting there going, holy shit, it's on now. And I wasn't good. Like the clip, I don't know how I found that clip. Somebody sent it to me.
I think it might have been me. I sent it to you.
If you send it to me, then there it is. That's how I found it. Yeah. But that clip was actually decent because I was terrible.
That was the best match.
I'm talking about stuttering, scared, can't answer a question. My voice was trash. The whole thing was bad, but I learned obviously from it that there was gonna, if you're gonna do this, you got to be able to do that. But I was just more. I couldn't believe that I was sitting next to them, speaking in public, like that. I had gotten to that point.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was a certainly for me like a high point in my career at that point.
So how did you grow in that way of front facing, and then I guess writing the book, Detaining America was a huge step. Like, can you speak to sort of that transition of like putting yourself out there more?
Putting myself out there more really happened when as times change, and I was like this guy behind the scenes, and I realized like, man, you gotta go, man. Like you're gonna go in the advertising business. You've been a record executive that had success. You got to tell your story. And I didn't do music videos. So it wasn't, and like that's the way people were getting themselves out there, because they were in music videos and be like, oh shit, that's blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I didn't do that. I didn't feel like doing that. So I chose, to be able to speak about and articulate what I believe in. And, whether it was marketing ideas for how we were rolling out albums, or the key shift came in it in Men in Black, which, how I got into advertising when, Will Smith wore the glasses and the glasses took off. Everyone thought it was a phenomenon, and I thought, no, it wasn't. This is exactly what happens when you put a packaged good wrapped within a pop cultural moment. You can create contagious behavior where somebody sees it and they want to buy it as a result of that. And maybe I should be on that side of the business. Maybe I should understand that side of the business, which led me to understand the advertising business. And I was 97. And because I started understanding advertising and obviously knew the music business, I'm like, if I don't share this, then I'm doing myself and others a disservice. And that's literally what made me, push forward and start to talk and put myself out there. And I'm still there's my moments where I like don't want to do it, and and there's moments where there's something to talk about. Like right now, there's something to talk about. When there's nothing to talk about, I'm not one to be running around and just talking to stay like relevant,
right?
Relevance. That word that everybody's concerned about. Relevance. Are you relevant? I'm not sure. How many followers you got? Oh, I am relevant.
Right. Can we talk about your time with the Knicks? Are you still working with them?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I work with James Dolan in Madison Square Garden. He's been great. I love working with him, and I don't give a fuck what anybody says. He's a dreamer. He's very, very talented. He has a very specific point of view. People come down on him for whatever reason. The Knicks aren't winning, but New York fans are, they love basketball, so they want to see a winner. They deserve a winner, and he knows that. Not everybody sees what he did in the Sphere, and that's just fucking people up. What he built in Vegas.
Oh, that's him? The Sphere?
Yes, man.
Oh, wow.
That's him. $2.5 billion, $2.3 billion of vision. You walk into that place, you can't even imagine what you're in. It's like, it's the best venue in the world. Everyone knows that.
Wow.
There's nothing to discuss. You go in there, when you listen to the sound system, when you listen to the fact they can change the temperature within 6 seconds of the room. No, not like change where it cools off or heats up, like change you're cold, you're hot. And he owns all that intellectual property. He's built the venue of the future in the Sphere in Vegas. So yes, I still work with Madison Square Garden. I work with James, and I think he's brilliant. Marketing with the Knicks or whatever it may be, we have a great relationship, and we're right here in Madison Square Garden.
Right.
We're right behind us.
Right now, we can see it.
So it's dope.
And how did you manage like that backlash after your your moment at ESPN?
How did I manage that? The good news was that COVID came right after that. COVID came right after that, and that was good. I regret doing it. I did it for the wrong reasons. I learned from that. Doing things for the wrong reasons, talking because whatever, I shouldn't have done it. That other guy, the guy up there who was an asshole, and I'm really happy that he's not, he got fired, Max Kellerman, who's trash. He's an actor. I mean, he used to be a rapper, and all this other shit. He's a boxing analyst. He's this, he's that. He's a fake, whatever. He's an actor, and part of what happened in the interview is that I went up there and, as I said, I shouldn't have. There was no reason for me to go up there and do that. And then you have this guy who's not talented on the other side, instigating a problem, like trying to egg me on. And it worked. I didn't have an agenda, right? I was just up there to talk. I had no agenda. And then after that, the next day he went up there and started talking shit. I actually ran up on him to speak to him about that. And like, why would you go up there the next day and like start talking shit? And he's like, well, I thought that you were sent up here to, defend the Knicks and all that. I'm like, man, Max, whatever. I don't want to talk about him anymore. The lesson here is, if you really have nothing to say nothing.
Simple, but stuff, yeah.
Effective.
Yeah.
Go back to Usher. You were at his performance in Paris. He said you were like a big brother to him.
I met him when he was 12, man. I was living at my mom's house, and I had a Jeep Cherokee, and I had an air conditioner in my window that was broken, and I had to take it out the window to get it serviced. And like, it was in my car for a month because I never got around to get it serviced. So I remember the air conditioner being in the trunk, and it took up a lot of the back seat. And L.A. Reid's brother was his A&R guy. And in the beginning, they were trying to find the right sound for Usher. They were looking for, they were taking him around trying to find a producer because they knew they had this special talent. And they brought him to New York to go meet folks, and I picked Brian up. I knew Brian Reid. I picked him up at the airport, and Usher, young 12, 13-year-old kid, was in the car, sitting next to an air conditioner. It took up a lot of the back seat, like I said. And I spent time with him, and that whole journey, that era of that, and then he ended up working with Puff, and Puff put him with Devontae, and that's how they started getting, his first album was made and all that. But the thing about him is he's always allowed me to be honest with him. I'll tell you the thing about, whether it be, Beyonce or Gaga or Usher or Hove, Nas, whoever, Busta, I can name the list of artists, 50, I can name all of them. Any artist that I have Puff, that I have a relationship with, the thing that they expect from me is honesty. You know that. I speak extremely candidly to them. And
even if you don't like something,
even if I don't, definitely when you don't like something. And that candid nature, sometimes it's tough. It's like, one of the things that I have is one of the values of my company is challenge and respect. Like, how do you say the most difficult thing in the most respectful way? And I do that. And I do that because I want them to have somebody in their life that will actually look at it objectively and be honest with them. And sometimes in that honesty, there's something in it that they're like, shit, you're right. Because they're just always used to having people around them, for the most part, who tell them everything that they say is brilliant. And that agree with everything. That's how those people, that's called fucking job security. If you agree with everything, you can't get fired. Deal. Versus somebody who's willing to say, nah, B, take that shit off, dog. That shit is not where it's at right now. For you, Andre Harrell was like that for me and for many people. Andre Harrell was like that for all of us. And, another person that I have a great deal of respect for, and God bless. And a lot of times, I find myself by default filling that void, or that's just who I am. Chris Rock, it could be anybody, I swear to you, man.
Yeah.
Like, my relationship with great, talented people comes from a basis of honesty and constructive criticism at times, and it always ends in respect.
It's coming from a good place.
The best place.
Right.
Because I know how special they are. I can be replicated. We can be replicated. They can't. With that voice, that sound, that look, that level of talent that embodies that particular person cannot be replicated. It's far and few in between. So be honest with them, because we're trying to preserve that.
Yeah.
And they need that. That's fair.
But you think you're providing an element that's kind of missing, though? Like you said, very few are willing to do that. Most people are either on the payroll, they're scared to do it, or don't even have the expertise to kind of properly.
They don't have the expertise, the understanding, the pedigree, the taste level, you name it, the honesty within themselves to understand, or even really, truly get how rare and special that they are. All of them, every one of them.
But that's the tie with Usher? Because it seemed like you haven't really, have you formally done business with him, or it just seemed like you're somebody who's been honest with him about stuff?
I don't even have to make money on it.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
It has something to do with the fan. I have always been somebody who cares about our culture, always. Even if it wasn't to my direct benefit. That's not the point. The point is, the tide lifts all boats, man. Like that's what it is. So it's not like I'm providing advice specifically only when I get something. I speak to Cameron and Mace right now on their show. Whatever they want, advertising. I speak to Cam once a week.
Wow.
Once a week he calls me. I have nothing to do with it. Don't do that. Do that. Fuck yeah. Perfect. No, I can help you. This, that, and the third. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean, and he feels welcome to call me. No problem. That's me. With people that I respect, that have been in the culture, have moved the culture forward, and that are special and unique. I do that.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting. I didn't see you really involved with any of this hip hop 50 talk stuff going on. Like,
Yeah.
what was your take on that? Like, even like advertising behind it, the whole push
dope,
behind
man.
it.
Thank you for that.
What?
For noticing that. Part of it was, I thought that people were doing a pretty good job on one half, like what Mass Appeal has done.
Yeah.
Yeah, their event
that
was great
dope,
at Yankee Stadium. That was great.
And then part of it was, I felt like people was doing a bunch of corny shit around it, and I tend to walk away when there's like a bunch of corny shit happening. It was more corny things than it was real shit that was substantive. But we are, myself, Ben Horowitz, Fab Five Freddy, QD3, Felicia Horowitz, Ben's wife. We have a charity called Paid in Full. And on November 17th, we are honoring those who have led the culture, but have not received the financial rewards that's on par with their cultural contribution.
Wow.
Yeah, and we're giving significant money, $500,000, and healthcare to these people who we believe were contributors who didn't get what they deserved, and we're honoring on November 17th in Vegas, Scarface and Rakim.
Wow.
Oh yeah, we sold out. It's at the Guggenheim in Vegas, and it happens to be on Hip Hop 50, but like that's impactful.
Yeah.
Like calling Scarface and say, I just want to let you know, man, that I got this for you. He's like, what do you have to do? I'm like, just show up, man. He's like, word? I'm like, yeah, $500,000.
Wow.
This, that, and the third. Boom. Rakim. And every year, this is an annual thing.
Wow.
This is what we're doing. So what I want to do is all of the artists who had come early, who had to sign bad deals or did sign bad deals or got taken advantage of, that the least we could do is give to them, pay that forward and give to them. So Paid in Full, November 17th in Las Vegas. You guys should come.
Oh,
that's
so
dope. Like, I would love for you to come because you're going to see something that's going to be very special because no one's ever done this before. No one's given the people who've helped move this industry forward reparations of some sort for what they've done but didn't get back.
Wow.
When did that come together for you to do that? They're seeing a lot of the corny shit, and you was like, I got to figure out the right
No, this
way
was
to go?
before that. Now, this took a while.
Yeah.
Ben Horowitz, working with Ben. You know, Nas, Ben, Nas, QD3, that team, Fab. But it was like 2 years in the making, trying to figure out what the right prize is and, you know, trying to go through the process to get it right. About 2 years. It wasn't for Hip Hop 50. It just happens to be that year, you know, so this year. So it's cool to say like that's what I did that year. Right, that's what we're gonna, and that's what we're doing going forward.
Wow,
you know.
But why Rakim and Scarface as the first recipients?
You just go through. It was just a process about there's a certain amount of there's conditions in which you know you have to understand. I don't want to just put people's personal business out. There's conditions you got to understand. You know, Scarface had a health scare. You know, there's a bunch of things like that, and you know when you go through it all, you know it was that. There's going to be others. It's every year. We would have did 5, but we chose 2, and it'll grow. It'll grow. But this is gone. This is not like a, you know, announcement that's not going to happen. This is announced. This is happening, and this is going to happen every single year going forward.
Wow, that's awesome. Another person that you have had a hand in their success is Nas, as you just mentioned. Like, what do you think of the run he's had as of late, especially on the music tip with Hit Boy?
Yeah, I just spoke about it this morning. Was talking about it to somebody earlier at breakfast that I can't be, you know, if somebody says to me, you know, Stoute, after everything you've done in your career, you know, when you look back on it, I hope that you see that managing Nas was one of your greatest accomplishments. And I never thought about that. And it's true. I worked with and am friends with one of the greatest artists that ever walked the face of this earth. That's a fact. And what he's doing right now is having a great time, looking good. It's him and Pharrell battling 1 or 2 for the ageless face. Like who's the most ageless?
Moisturizer champs.
The moisturizing champs. Oh God. Yeah, they're fucking fighting. They're battling it out for the moisturization. Sure. Somebody would say pause.
Pause. We can throw it in. We can throw it in for the hip hop crowd. Insert your pause.
But yeah, he's having a great time. The music he's making, he's having fun. The fact that he still goes on tour, the way he goes on tour.
Wu-Tang of all people.
Wu-Tang. And he just came up on tour with Mary and Lauren and Wu-Tang. I mean, I seen him in Paris, man, 20,000 sold out. Seen him again in London, 20,000 sold out. I seen the show 3 times. Hollywood Bowl, Paris, and London. And I'm just proud of them. The fact that they can go on tour together and you see wherever they go around the world, the same kind of feel when those same songs come on.
Yeah.
And they're having a great time. And Nas is putting out music on top of it, dropped an album on his birthday. He's been saying he was gonna do that for 10 years and he finally did it.
For real?
He always says, you think I should do it on my birthday? I'm like, we keep saying this. Like, I don't understand why you keep asking the same question. And he did it.
But what do you think the drive came from, this sort of inspiration? 6 albums in 3 years. I mean, that would have been a dream back then. I remember the battles we'd have.
Just being around. I think, you know, inspiration, Hit Boy, inspired. I think being independent. Not having the constraints of a record company, you know, telling you what to do and is it a first single and all that other bullshit. I think that's that freedom.
Yeah, they don't judge. I was saying to Hit Boy even himself, they don't judge those albums by what they sold. They just judge it by the quality of the art.
They judge it by the quality of the art, and you know, the fact that Nas is just putting out music, we like that. We like that, and I tell artists that they should do that, man. I think I told Jay to kiss it that night at Nas's birthday. I'm like, yo, put out music, man.
Yeah.
Put out music. Stop. What happens is the old legacy system and ways, you get caught up in sales first week and all that kind of stuff. And those kind of things stay with you. It's almost like you get PTSD. Like, oh my God, I'm not concerned about the
You're
first
still in
week.
the marketing meeting.
Yeah.
Forever.
And now you're out of it. You're playing with the house money.
Yeah.
Put out the music.
Yeah.
People want to hear what you got to say. Try things. It's not being judged like that. Like, you're not, no matter what you do, it's not falling off. Like, you don't have to, you only did whatever your first week, you fell off. Like, that doesn't work that way.
Era's over.
So just stop. Put out music. I would tell all the acts that's been in the game for some time, like, put out music. Always put out music. Don't never let them not make you put out music.
Yeah.
Don't keep that shit in your drive. Put that shit out.
I think it's dope that Nas has been able to age gracefully in this thing because, he's 50 years old and you have artists like JayZ and even artists like Killer Mike. They're still performing at a high level.
Yeah. Well, we all thought that it was a young man's game. And it is a young man's game from a perspective of attracting youth. But it's not a young man's game when you talk about hip hop audiences and the maturity of content and music and ideas that we've grown up with. It may not be as big as obviously 16-year-olds, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
You still have an opportunity to appeal to a fan base that loves you and has grown with you.
Right.
And that you should continue to talk to them.
Absolutely.
Why do you think the MCs today have seemed like they've evolved? When we was coming up, it was like, oh, the MC would fall off by the fourth album when he turns in his 40s. Like, but it seems like now these guys are still growing, still able to contribute great music.
Well, I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
I think the talented ones have been able to jump the fence and continue to make great music. Let's pull back for a second. I think the one thing I do know about hip hop and the MC is that bars really do matter. And sometimes, I could have sat here during periods of time with RapRadar and you would have been like, yo, bars is not even, they don't even care no more, dog. And then all of a sudden you see like J. Cole just ripping down these verses and everybody gives a fuck.
Yep.
Bars do matter. The core of hip hop and the MC is putting words together. And yes, melodies matter, and obviously you want to dance to it or however you want to feel. And there's periods in which bars seem to not mean anything, and whether it was the mumble rap era or whatever it was. But then you get back to bars.
Right.
And then you get back to bars. And then you get back to the big three, whether it's Cole, Drake, and Kendrick, or Nas, Biggie, and Jay, or Rakim, KRS, and Kane, whatever you want to do.
Pick a
then
big
you
three.
get back to bars.
Yeah.
And we're back to bars.
Facts. Nas said on what this all really means off Magic 2 that you met Nipsey Hussle about doing a documentary on I Am being bootlegged.
Well, no. Well, yes. I had spent time with Nipsey. He very special, very unfortunate circumstance. And he was so supportive of United Masses from the beginning. I would go speak and he would be in the front row. Like he'd be sitting in the front row. It was like crazy that he would do that. But he was so keen on understanding, and that was his whole thing, knowledge of everything. And anyhow, he sent me a text that I still have.
Wow.
He literally asked me, tell me about the process when you were making It Was Written. And I'm like, yo, that's so crazy you asking me that. He goes, because I'm making this second album right now. And I just want to know, how did you go through thinking through It Was Written? What was the mistakes you made? And I'm like, I think we rushed the Dr. Dre record because it was the last one. Nas is coming. It was a big idea. It could have been better. This, that, and the third. And the sequencing, putting I Rule the World last because we didn't want people to think that it was how we sequenced the album was important. I was taking them through the whole thing. And I'm like, man, this guy is, to reach out, and I showed that text to Nas, like, Nas, look at this.
Wow.
This guy is asking me about It Was Written, and he's like, man, mean, I can get my phone and I'll show it to you, but it was written thing was important to him, and he started rattling off all the songs that meant a lot to him. You get my phone for a second? Mm-hmm. Oh shit! Look at this. There it is. Boom. Look at this right there.
Wow.
Read that.
Read that.
Yeah, read it. Huh?
You're gonna be that.
All right. This is March 26, 2019. Nipsey says, top of the week, hope you solid. Got a question. I want to ask you about making my sophomore album. When y'all made It Was Written, do you feel like y'all did anything wrong? And you respond, you're crazy for asking that. So smart. The biggest mistake we made was rushing to get Dr. Dre, Nas Is Coming. It was decent, not great. That was Dr. Dre's first production outside of Death Row. Oh, wow. I didn't think about that. The smartest thing we did was go for the feature out the gate, utilizing his credibility from Illmatic. So I Rule the World made perfect sense. Nipsey responds, right, in capital letters. If I Rule the World was undeniable. I was 11 or 12 and I remember being blown away. And we was on some West Coast only shit back then. That song was the only voice other than Pac that spoke to us as young kids from the street on that level. I gave you power, the message, street dreams, affirmative action. Watch them niggas if I Ruled the World classics.
Boom. Stop. Cool.
Wow.
It's personal after that. So, and if you look at the date and then when he passed, you see how tight
Damn,
is.
that was just a couple days prior.
You understand what I'm saying?
Wow.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
You
man.
understand what
Shout out
I'm
Nip. Yes, man.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we talked about that. Like, I'm from the era where we know what to make of Nas when he came with the Lauryn Hill single. Like, you changed the sound. You changed the sound. Trackmaster was a new sound. We wanted to keep him in this Illmatic bubble. And, and even you're saying, it's interesting, you said that even that you kind of played to it by putting it last in the sequence of the album.
Then I dropped the, hold on, I got to still get over that thing. Man. That's crazy. You see what I'm saying? I'm not even sitting there. These are real, every question, everything comes with depth and it's important.
Yeah.
The words you say and how you speak to people and how you treat people, my care and concern about the culture, I have nothing to do with that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
When making it was written, people told me I was gonna kill his career. Q-Tip told me that to my face in the studio.
Wow.
I was at the mastering plant and Q-Tip said, yo, you putting that out? Yeah, yo, you gonna kill a kid's career. And I'm looking at Q-Tip, and this is the first album I'm making from scratch, and Nas trusted me. And I'm thinking, like, is he saying this because he don't like the record or because he didn't produce on this album, because he produced on the last album and I went in a different direction? And of course, but I'm like, man, fuck this shit. That was it. By the way, when that song worked and we did everything we did around it, with the music video and starting with the message and then cut into that and all that,
Boom.
I'm like, I'm not listening to nobody anymore. Once that worked, I guarantee you every young manager goes through that. They go to a record company or they go to something and there's some OG or somebody who's supposed to know shit, and then you sit there and they tell you to do something or else, and then you don't do it. You do you follow your gut and the shit works. And now you start looking at them like, yo, you don't know fucking shit. Right. I guarantee you, if you just take that idea that I just said and ask every single person who comes on this, tell me when that moment was when somebody told you who you looked up to or that you thought knew more than you to do something and that was wrong and you didn't listen to them and the shit worked. Tell me what that was. You'll hear wild shit. Wild shit. People give just like, oh, that's not gonna work. Oh, that's not gonna work. What are you talking about that's not gonna work? It's the biggest fucking hit of my life. You don't know shit. People just follow your gut instinct. Have enough confidence to follow your gut instinct. You'll actually you'll sleep at night knowing that you followed your gut instinct versus you didn't follow your gut instinct and you fucking did some other shit and failed. Believe me, that shit right there, you'll never forget that for the rest of your life. Follow your gut instinct.
There's people that It Was Written more than Illmatic. There's a generation that doesn't even understand that there was backlash
it's a very funny
in real
thing.
time.
I've been defending It Was Written for so many years. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? This shit is fire. Following, I had to make the album, I had to make Nas's album. It Was Written following Illmatic. And then I had to make Mary's album
Following my
Share
life.
My World,
Share My
Following
World.
My Life.
Woo.
Big shoes.
What?
Yeah, of course.
Yo, and
And they hated you for it. You was
everybody hated me for it.
villain.
I
You was
don't give a
villain.
fuck, man. Like back then, people hated me for it or whatever they did. But if I gotta work, part of it is being honest. Again, you're working with an artist, you're working with Mary, you're working with Nas during that point of their lives, and you know for a fact, yo, this album, Pete Rock, Tip, Premier, these producers, you're going with the track masters, you're going with Dr. Dre, you're going with all of this new, you're not using the same formula that worked before. You know, My Life was Puff and Chucky thing. You going to new producers and shit.
Why was that the right move? Did you see yourself
Growth.
as elevating their sound?
Growth
Elevating
is
their,
I'm not elevating their sound. I am not elevating their sound. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that growth, as you grow, you have to leave certain things behind. You got to move on. And from the distance between Illmatic and it was written was a lot of time had passed. Music was changing.
Yeah.
You know, and I had to be addressed. In the case of Mary writes from her heart. So this time had changed. Her life had changed, and you know where she was in my life, and you listen to it, and where she was with Share My World. Look, she's coming up with the titles.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? She's giving it away. She's telling you how she feels.
Yeah.
She wears it on her sleeve. So when you're going to go into the Share My World, it's a different sound. It's a different feeling. It's just growth.
Right.
Yeah.
Talking about that growth 3 years ago, a month prior to the pandemic, there was a picture of you, Nas, and 50 Cent at All-Star Weekend in Chicago. How did you and 50 manage to salvage your relationship?
My mistake with 50 was when I was leaving Interscope, I promised him I can get him a deal before I left. I'm like, I got you before I leave. I took 50 to Rough Riders. I took him to Timberland. We weren't signing things directly to Interscope like that. We were always signing them through producers. That was Jimmy's idea. And he had Wanked out. And because of the heat around him, these guys wouldn't fuck with him. That's a fact. They would not fuck with him. They would not fuck with him. I did the deal to get 50 Cent off of Jam Master Jay to Trackmasters and Sony. The guys at Sony who were mentally challenged at that time, that regime, dropped 50 Cent after he got shot. They also dropped Alicia Keys.
Woo. That doesn't get said enough, right? Right there.
This is
Look at
literally
those
the
careers.
same, by the way, the same executive, the same idiot who thinks he knows what he's doing.
He gonna get an executive in these interviews, man. He gonna get one.
So anyhow, don't matter. It doesn't matter. It's like, it's some white guy at the time trying to tell young black kids what's hot. It's the normal dumb shit. So anyhow, he drops both of them.
50 Cent and Alicia Keys.
One person. Now I'm over at, when 50 got dropped from Sony, I wasn't there. I had already gone to Interscope. So when the $6 million man comes back, you know, better than ever.
Right.
And the bullet in the mouth changed his voice and gave him another fucking
flow, pocket.
Yeah.
Forget it.
Yeah.
And he had that shit. I'm like, yo, I'm taking it to these people. I'm on my way out the door. The last thing I did, I worked on the 8 Mile soundtrack and I'm out. Like I'm going over to Interscope.
Great soundtrack.
I go over to Interscope and I start doing other shit. I'm like, you know, whatever I'm doing at Interscope. Rough Riders, and I'm building my repertoire over at Interscope now.
Right.
They didn't do it. And I didn't even think to bring it to Dre or Eminem. I didn't even think to do it. I didn't even think to do it. And that part hurt him at that time, or bothered him, hurt him, because I did say I was gonna get it done and I did not get it done. And I was fucked up that I couldn't get it done. I actually couldn't get it done. And that was always the problem, that I said that and I couldn't get it done. But, you know, early on, obviously, I told you, I got him over to out of his Jam Master Jay deal, paid Jam Master Jay whatever it was to get him out. Had him up in Bearsville, New York, when we were recording. I put him with Sha Money. Sha Money was a kid that lived behind. I knew Sha Money's older brother. Sha Money had some equipment. I put him with Sha Money. Sha Money and him was like this in the beginning, making all those records.
Yep.
And boom, that all happened. And then the whole thing at the Garden is another story,
Right.
which was, but whatever, you know. He didn't like a comment that I made, and you know, I thought I made the right fair comment, like, yo, where's the music? You know, Ayo Technology, I don't understand why you're doing that. You're 50 Cent. You're 50 Cent, dog.
Yeah.
Like, why? And I'm just saying that as a person who admires his talent and his persona as a musician. And after that, at Madison Square Garden, when we had the
face-off.
Yeah. It looks like Muhammad Ali and Frazier face-off.
Right.
I'm Muhammad Ali. And we meet backstage at the Garden. Like, so that's halftime. And we literally sat there for an hour and a half. Like the players left
same
the court.
night?
The players left the court and we were still sitting there talking.
Wow.
And we went from that to Chris Lighty passing and what that meant to him. And we spoke for a long time. So it was honest conversation. And that was kind of when it all just kind of, you know, that was the end of that sort of thing. And then obviously there's, like I said, the respect never left. And you see what he's doing in film and television, which is fire. And when I seen him, I was at Nas, we were in Chicago, and he seen us. He got out the car, and it was like love.
Wow.
And it was Queens Get the Money.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. It didn't even have a hiccup, man.
Wow.
He was in the car. We were walking to a car. He got out the car and was like, "Yo," and it was just like Queens Get the Money. What we doing?
Right.
3 guys from Queens. In my neighborhood, man, I growing up in Queens. Within a 3-mile radius is 50 Cent, Russell Simmons, Irv Gotti, LL.
Let's beat outside of town.
Yeah.
Huh?
This is side of town.
Yeah.
Yeah. You from Walton?
South Jamaica.
You from South Jamaica?
Yeah.
So, B-Dot.
Look at you. Look
All
at
right, within a 3-mile radius. I'm not even joking around.
No, for real.
The kid Keith, who started FUBU with Damon and them, he was for them. They were all within 3 miles of each other is all of that talent. It's just a very wild thing that you have that much talent that comes from that one specific area of Queens. But yeah, you know, Envy,
Right.
Clue, Queens Get the Money.
Nicki, of course. Nicki Minaj. Yeah.
I can keep going on and on, but that like the level of talent that came from that area is kind of fire.
Or I want to speak to one of your newest talents, one of your brightest upstarts. It was in an unfortunate predicament, Superstar Pride. He was, he was signed to United Masters and he was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. I want to know, what was your reaction when you heard that news?
It bothered me because the kid, he was such a stand-up guy. Like when we signed him, that was another bidding war. And he came to Miami and I sat with him and told him about the value of being independent. And he comes from a small town, like 20,000 people. And he wanted like $5 million from a label. And when they didn't give him $5 million, they were offering him $3 million. He's like, if it ain't $5 million, I'm not signing it. I'm like, what? But the values, you know, values have value.
Values have value.
Values have value. That's what he wanted. And if it wasn't going to be that, he wasn't moving. So when you see people like that, that's the kind of people you want to fuck with. So when I sat down with him, I'm like, I'm not giving you $5 million, but what I am going to do is allow you the opportunity to grow your career and own something that you can give your family and your kids and this, that, and the third. So anyway, we cut the deal. I told him there's nothing that we can't do that a major label can do. There's zero. We got money, they got money. We got talent, they got talent. I'm not sure how many people in the major label system can fuck with me from a talent perspective, period. So we take the record goes number 1. I see him after that, and he's like, man, Mr. Stoute, everything you said you were gonna do, you did, this, that, and the third. Now, I'm looking at the kid the whole time, and I see the people around him. I know they get busy. But like all solid, committed people who come from the street, if you keep your word, you have nothing to worry about. All you got to do is keep your word. Don't lie to them. Don't give them no fuckboy shit, and you're fine. I did everything I said I was going to do. But I definitely knew that whether it be him or his circle got busy. When that shit happened 3 weeks later, man, I was like, how many times is this going to be the same shit? Another young kid who gets money, who has an opportunity to change his life, gets 1 foot fucking pulled back in the shit, and then does something that's stupid. Now, look, I don't know, obviously he's charged with, he didn't go to trial yet, but the fact that he was even in that circumstance is the problem. Man had a #1 record.
Painting pictures.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then they had a whole situation with getting it cleared, and it eventually got cleared with Faith Evans. So it's unfortunate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Earth Gang. In good news. Earth Gang, they're a talented group from Dreamville. How did you guys connect with them?
Barry Hefner, the manager, they had left Interscope. Barry's a cool dude. Barry first said no. Like, Barry, and we have a great team at United Masters, man. This is not, look at Toby, man. This kid, gone. Movies, gone. Just gone. Not even, his feet don't even touch the ground anymore. When you see him in fight, if you look closely, their feet aren't hitting the ground.
Toby's feet have not touched the ground. Since he got a business with Steve Stoute.
Yeah, so I'm just proud of these things that have taken place for people who've been around our orbit, and that the last time I was there, it was the beginning of something, and now I'm sitting here telling you something that's tangible, and there's a conference, and we're going to it, and all these things. So I don't sit here and,
BS.
Say put yeast in a story, tell you something that's a theory that's not true. I actually do what I say. How rare is that? That people actually say something and do it and follow through and stick to their knitting.
Stick to the knitting.
And that's what it's about. That's what it should be. And those are the values that I learned from the era of hip hop that I've come from. That as a hustler, as somebody who's trying to move something forward, you keep your word and you do everything you say that you're going to do, or you do your best to do it. That's all I know. And that's why I'm here.
Absolutely.
But you did promise to bring us the demo of JayZ with the Still DRE for Dr. Dre. Come on, Stoute, man. When we gonna get a copy,
There's
man?
a couple of those demos, man. There's a couple of them that, it's like Bigfoot. It's Nas writing Men in Black. It's Nas' reference on Men in Black. It's JayZ's references for Foxy's first album. It's JayZ's reference for Still DRE. It's Jadakiss doing the Benjamins, Puff's verse and the Benjamins. These are all Bigfoot.
You've heard him though.
There's another one, JayZ freestyle to Looking Out the Front Door. You heard about that one?
Nah.
Yeah, there's a JayZ. JayZ has a freestyle where he's rapping.
I like the noise in the background.
Yeah, it's dope.
New York City, baby.
We're in New York City. We gotta let people know we're in New York City. It doesn't matter. Let this go. Don't edit around it. This is cool.
Yeah, he has a freestyle over Main Source Looking Out the Front Door, and I think
you heard this?
Yeah, it's out there, but I think Just Blaze, a Young Guru, has it on hard drive. So
he's going crazy on it.
I don't know. I haven't heard it, but it exists.
I'm gonna find out about that.
Get to the bottom of that one, Stoute.
I love that song, Looking Out the Front Door.
Yeah.
I like that whole first Main Source album.
It's incredible. Breaking Adams. Come on, Breaking Adams.
I used to compare Breaking Adams to The Chronic.
I'm not mad at that.
Woo!
From a production standpoint.
It's crazy.
Breaking Adams' production is obscene.
Large Professor, baby.
It's obscene.
Queens.
On, man.
That's Queens again.
Yeah, that first album is the production.
Yeah.
Forget about it. The transitions, everything.
Yeah.
And I compare it production-wise to the Dre album, to the Chronic.
But it was an amazing moment when Super Bowl, Dr. Dre, Still DRE performance. I saw Jay on the big screen. You was right next to him. What was it like witnessing that moment?
Well, I was trying to find a Rock Nation booth, and I was running around, and I'm just getting stopped because at the Super Bowl, for me, it's the Super Bowl of advertising. Everybody's there.
Facts.
So I'm trying to get to the booth, but I'm stopping by and I'm dapping up the CEO of Verizon. I'm dapping up State Farm. I'm dapping up everybody. And shit, I got to get to this Rock Nation box. So I get in the box, and as soon as I get next to Jay, still DRE starts. It starts. And it was a very special moment for him and I to share that we acknowledge as a special moment because of how impactful that song was. First, for me, as an A&R guy, working at Interscope, like no matter what my title was, at the end of the day, I'm an A&R guy. I can, make music, put people together, create shit. And Jimmy Iovine, legendary record executive, he's getting every single person. I don't care if it's Gwen Stefani or Dr. Dre. They'll turn in the album and he's like, "Are you sure? Can you make one more?" And they're like, "One more, Jimmy, this is it. This is the first single." And he's asking Dre, "What does Eminem think?" And I'm like, Jimmy's just pushing everything to see are you like one more rep? Like he's just it's basically that. It's like, do one more. And they're like, "I don't want to do any more." And Jimmy's like, "Well, if you make the song, it doesn't go from the studio directly into Tower Records. Like, if we don't come out well, then it's fine."
Yeah.
So then he pushes Dre. Now this is the Chronic 2001. This is the right. He pushes Dre, and Dre says, "Here," and gives Jimmy 5 beats he was thinking about. I'm in the room. I'm in the meeting. Plays 5 beats that he's thinking about that he would have put on the album. I said, Jimmy says, "All right, take the beats, Steve, and I'm already gonna try to figure out what I can do with it." Now I'm flying across America with Dr. Dre beats, and I can't even explain to you how incredibly fragile I was with that CD. Having Dr. Dre beats in your possession back then is like having, I don't know, JayZ's verses or something. It's like you can't, like it's just so special and rare. Or, whatever, it's that special and rare. So I come back and I play the beats for Timbaland. Timbaland has a great ear. I play the beats for Timbaland. Timbaland likes a beat. I played the beat for a few other folks, and then I played for JayZ. But the beat that I liked, that Timbaland and a bunch of other people, like 3 others chose out of all the beats, and it was the Still DRA. I played for Jay. Jay goes in the studio, mumbles to himself, goes out to Noble. Seriously, goes to Noble and comes back and finishes the verse. No, spits the verse, just like that. Starts it, leaves, comes back, spits the verse. Him and I drive to Atlantic City to go to a show, a Junior Mafia show in Atlantic City, in which he promised Kim, this is after Big Pass, that he was gonna, go on stage with her. Wow. So Jay, a man of his word, as you know, we're him and I are driving to Atlantic City. The issue is we get lost. Because we're running tight on time, so I'm sure he'll say it was my fault, so I'll take the blame. I tried something like, let's go this way, and we can cut off time to get to the thing. Man, we're fucking in the wrong, we're not even near Atlantic City. We're going towards fucking Syracuse, New York. So now we start heading towards Atlantic City. I'm driving. Now we start driving now we're on our way towards Atlantic City, but now we're going through Trenton, New Jersey, because we skipped this thing. Yo, this man, by the way, we're playing Still DRE on its 100th spin. Wow. We're playing it over, we can't believe it. We're just playing it over and over and over and over. It's the only thing we're playing for 2.5 hours, 3 hours. Wow. Stop talking for a little bit, play it again. We go through Trenton, and Jay starts saying, "Nah, go this way, that way." And I'm like, oh shit, he really knows Trenton. And then somebody comes up to the car and like, "Yo, Jay, what's up? I remember you used to serve me." Man. Or something crazy like that. I'm like, oh shit, he really knows it. He goes, "Yeah, man. that diner right there used to be my spot. Anyhow, that was there's a lot of memories obviously connected with that moment. And then when we heard the final of it, the thing that was probably most shocking was that Snoop did Jay's parts.
Right. Yeah.
And didn't change anything. And it was dope. It was dope for New York hip hop. It was dope for Jay as a writer. It was dope for me as an A&R and executive. And that was the first single. So there's a lot of memories connected to that moment.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, you've created a lot of great memories, Steve, man. We appreciate you coming
it,
by, man.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you for having me. And, hopefully the next time I come, there'll be another chapter, a new idea, another endeavor that's pushing culture forward.
Absolutely.
All right.
But I got to know, though, Steve, who's more competitive at Uno, you or Beyonce?
She does a lot of things great. The Uno thing is a little thing. The Uno thing is not where it is her strength. Jay is very competitive at Uno. Uno thing, I love Uno. I don't know.
You're the best player? You're the best Uno player?
No, I'm not the best.
You're better than the Carters?
The funniest thing is with the Uno, I won that day. And the funniest thing with Uno is how people be changing the rules midstream. Like, I'm like, wait a minute, you didn't know we could stack? Like, what are you talking about? You didn't know? You just did it. When you put two reverses around, like, what do you think it goes? Like, get the fuck out of here. Yeah.
I forgot about you in Cali with the golf too, though, man. You guys stopped playing yet? Man, is World War III when you guys get on the green?
It was World War III because I won. It was World War III because I won. I beat him 2-1, and he didn't like that.
No rematch? No rematch?
Well, that's what he kept on. He tried to extend the trilogy. It was trilogy, and then he tried to make it 5. I'm like, math doesn't work that way, unfortunately, pal. Math works this way.
Right.
And he didn't like that, but he's been playing a lot. If definitely we play now,
you lit the fire.
I would have to brush up. I definitely know me winning that trilogy got his ass sharp, got him out there. And I always feel like every day he's just dying to get me back out there, trying to get in my pockets.
A gentleman's wager?
Nah, I took that money and I copped.
Hey!
Yeah.
That's what's
Very
up.
good. All right, gentlemen. Thank you.
Yes, Steve Stoute, Rapradar Podcast.
Yeah.